Hi class, for our topic today, we will be discussing reproductive technologies. So there are different reproductive technologies that are being used to help parents that want to have kids of their own. So the first technology is the donated sperm or the intrauterine insemination. So this is the oldest assisted reproductive technology wherein the sperm are first washed free of seminal fluid and a doctor places the donated sperm into the woman's cervix or uterus. So the success rate is only 5 to 15% per attempt, and the person who can receive the donated sperm is a woman that seek IUI if her partner is infertile or baog. If there's a mutation that the couple wishes to avoid passing to their child, a woman who decided to be a single parent without having sex, and a lesbian couple who wanted to have a child of their own. So, a couple who chooses IUI can select sperm from a catalog that lists down the personal characteristics of donors, such as blood type, hair, eye color, skin color, build, educational level, and interest. So, if a couple desires a child of one sex, sperm can be separated into fractions enriched for X-bearing or Y-bearing sperm. So, sa ibang bansa, may mga sperm bank. So, meron silang mga catalogs na pwedeng mamili yung tao kung anong um, gusto nilang maging itsura ng magiging anak nila. So, sa Philippines, walang ganito. Wala tayong sperm bank. Then, the next one is the donated uterus or the surrogate motherhood. So there are two types of surrogacy. So if a man produces healthy sperm but his partner uterus cannot maintain a pregnancy, so a surrogate mother may help by being the childbearer. So the sperm will be inseminated to the surrogate mother. So after birth, the surrogate mother gives the baby to the couple, and so the surrogate is both the genetic and the gestational mother. So a problem with surrogate motherhood is that a woman may not be able to predict her responses to pregnancy and childbirth in a lawyer's office months before she must hand over the baby. And another type of surrogacy is a surrogate mother lends only her uterus, receiving a fertilized ovum conceived from a man and a woman who has healthy ovaries but lacks a functional uterus. So also known as the embryo transfer to a host uterus, and acts as the gestational only surrogate mother. So yung type of surrogacy na to is pinag-combine na yung sperm and ovum. Then, saka siya binigay or in-inject dun sa surrogate mother. So, anak nung couple, yung dala-dala nung surrogate mother. Unlike sa unang surrogacy, which is anak ng surrogate mother and nung donor sperm. So the next type is in vitro fertilization, which means fertilization in glass. So sperm and oocyte join in a laboratory dish. So soon after, that embryo that forms is placed in an uterus. If all goes well, it implants into the uterine lining and continues development until a baby is born. So ito yung tinatawag minsan na test tube baby. So if a woman of ovaries and uterus work but her uterine tubes are blocked, using a laparoscope, a physician removes several of the largest oocytes from an ovary and transfers them to a culture dish. If left in the body, only one oocyte can mature sufficiently to be fertilized in vitro. So chemicals, sperm, and other cell types similar to those in the female reproductive tract are added to the culture, And an acidic solution may be applied to the zona pellucida to thin it to ease the sperm penetration. So there's also what we call the intracytoplasmic sperm injection, which is a technique that is used when sperm cannot readily enter the oocyte. It may be sucked up into a tiny syringe and micro-injected into the female cell. So it is more effective than IVF alone and has become a standard at some facilities. So it is very helpful for men who have low sperm counts and many abnormal sperm, and it makes fatherhood possible for men who cannot ejaculate, such as those who have suffered from spinal cord injuries. So ito na yung mga lalaki na hindi tinitigasan. So kahit anong klaseng masturbation yung gawin nila. So, ayun. Because nagkaroon ng spinal cord injury, so nagkaroon ng problem in their manhood. So, after that, 2 to 5 days after sperm wash over the oocytes in the dish or are injected into them, blastocyst is transferred to the uterus. So, if the HCG appears in the woman's blood a few days later and the level rises, so it does means that the woman is pregnant. So embryos resulting from IVF that are not soon implanted in the woman can be frozen in liquid nitrogen for later use. So the longest embryo that has been frozen, stored, and then successfully revived is 13 years. And the oldest pregnancy using a frozen embryo occurred 9 years after the freezing. So what are the risk factors of using IVF? So maternal age, success is 30 to 40% for women under age 34, but only 5 to 10% for women over 40. So increased time being infertile, number of previous failed IVF attempts, and number of previous IVF attempts. So use of women's own oocytes rather than a donor's, and infertility with a known cause. And another din na is mahal po ang IVF. Then we also have the gamete and zygote intrafallopian transfer or the GIF and the ZIP. For GIF or the gamete intrafallopian transfer, if the IVF failed because of artificial environment for fertilization, the GIF may improve the setting. So fertilization is assisted in GIF, but it occurs in the woman's body rather in glassware. So using GIF, several of women's largest oocytes are removed, and the man submits a sperm sample and the most active cells are separated from it. And the collected oocytes and sperms are deposited together in the woman's uterine tube at the side past any obstruction that may otherwise block fertilization. And this technology is 22% successful. Then we also have the ZIFT or the zygote intrafallopian transfer, which is a variation of GIF. So an IVF ovum is introduced into the woman's uterine tube, allowing the fertilized ovum to mix its own way to the uterus, increases the chance that it will be implanted. So the same, it is 22% successful. Then we also have the oocyte banking and donation. So the oocyte can be stored, but the procedure may create problems because an oocyte is the largest type of cell and contains a large volume of water. So freezing can form ice crystals that damage cell parts of the oocyte. So candidates for preserving include women who wish to have children later in life and women who will contact toxins or teratogens in the workplace, or those people or those women who will undergo chemotherapy. So mga gusto pang magkaanak, so they want to preserve their oocyte, so papalagay nila sa oocyte bank and frozen yung kanilang cells. So oocytes are frozen in liquid nitrogen at -30 to -40 degrees Celsius when they are at the metaphase of the second meiotic division. So at this time, the chromosomes are aligned along the spindle, which is sensitive to temperate extremes. So if the spindle comes apart as the cell freezes, the oocyte may lose a chromosome, which would cause a devastating development. So another problem with freezing oocytes is the retention of the polar body that may result to a diploid oocyte. So to avoid the difficulty of freezing oocyte, strips of ovarian tissues can be frozen, stored, and thawed, and reimplanted at various sites, such as under the skin of the forearm or abdomen, or in the pelvic cavity near the ovaries, so that the tissue will ovulate and the oocytes are collected and fertilized in vitro. Then we also have embryo adoption. It is a variation of an oocyte donation, wherein a woman will, with malfunctioning ovaries but a healthy uterus, carries an embryo that results when her partner's sperm is used in intrauterine insemination of a woman who produces healthy oocytes. So if the woman conceives, the embryo is gently flushed out of her uterus a week later and inserted through the cervix and into the uterus of the woman with malfunctioning ovaries. Then we also have the cytoplasmic donation. So older women have their oocytes injected with cytoplasm from the oocytes of younger women to rejuvenate their cells. So although resulting children conceiving through IVF appear to be healthy, they are being monitored for heteroplasmy or two sources of mitochondria in one cell. So this is very risky to do because it may cause diseases to the offspring. And we also have the implantation genetic diagnosis. So it detects genetic and chromosomal abnormalities before pregnancy starts. And pre-implantation refers to the fact that the embryo is tested at a stage prior to when it will implant in the uterus. So PGD is possible because one cell or blastomere can be removed for testing from an 8-celled embryo, and the remaining cell, the 7 cells, will be put into the can complete development normally in a uterus. So before the embryo is implanted into the woman, the single cell is karyotype, or its DNA amplified and probed for genes that the parents carry. So it may soon be more economical to sequence the exome or genome in place of this more specific test. So accuracy in detecting mutation or abnormal chromosomes is about 97%. So errors generally happen when a somatic mutation affects the sample, blastomere, but not the rest of the embryo. And we also have the sequential polar body analysis that provides genetic information even earlier in development, and it is a substitute for PGD. So this sequential polar body analysis are used by researchers so they can sequence link markers or even entire genomes of polar bodies to determine whether crossing over has occurred, to be certain that the fertilized ovum has not inherited any mutation. So because SPBA is still experimental, um, researchers follow it up with a PGD to test their predictions and ensure that the IVF embryo transferred to the woman's uterus to develop are free of family mutation. Then we also have extra embryo. So sometimes assisted reproductive technologies leave extra embryo, extra oocytes, fertilized ova, or very early embryos. So what are the possible fates for extra embryos? So they can be stored indefinitely, store and destroy after a set time. It can be donated for embryonic stem cell derivation and research. It can also be taught later for use by the biological parents. It can be also taught later for use by other parents or be discarded. So that's the end of our discussion. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you learned something today. Thank you.